Welcome, everyone. Hello, hello. I'm Bill from cruisehabit.com. Wanted to come in live and talk ship with all of you for just a couple minutes because I had a thought earlier today, and it has to do with how I'm going to be cruising over the next several weeks, months, who knows, uncertain times, right? And what I recommend you should do, honestly, to make your life a little bit easier, and some other reasons as well. So welcome to Brian and everyone else coming in here on YouTube and on Facebook. Before I get started, do me a favor, if you don't already, like us on Facebook and click subscribe and like on YouTube. Doesn't cost you a thing, helps get the word out, and makes it so that we can talk ship with more of you. Now, on to what I was discussing, or what I want to discuss today. We've seen that cruise lines over the last several days, there have been a lot of policy updates, right? We've seen first Royal Caribbean said that all guests, regardless of vaccination status, were going to need to present a negative COVID test taken within 72 hours prior to checking in at the port of embarkation. We saw Celebrity do the same. Then yesterday, we saw Carnival Corporation implement similar measures across Carnival Cruise Line, Holland America Line, and Princess. In addition, Carnival, those three Carnival Corp lines, they said that, hey, even if you're vaccinated, you're going to need to wear a mask when you are in many areas of the ship. What Carnival Corp said was things like main dining room before you're eating, the casino, elevators, any of the areas that are like made for kids, because there's going to be a lot of unvaccinated people there. But other areas as well, wherever they put a sign up. I kind of wonder if they'll end up switching that and say, you need to wear a mask unless we have a sign. Seems like a better way of handling the situation, so people can't just say, hey, missed the sign. So again, hey, to everyone joining, Clint, Kim, Barry, Brian, hello, guys. So that's the update from Carnival, right? As they said, masks in a lot of places, even if you're vaccinated, and Carnival and Royal, all of the associated brands said testing. You need to present. It could be a PCR, could be a rapid antigen test. Just needs to be negative and done within 72 hours of embarkation. You need to bring that when you check in. All of that, got it. But I'm here to tell you that there are two things you should be doing. One thing that you should be doing, one thing that you should watch out for. One thing I would recommend doing is, if you have a cruise coming up, we'll say in the next couple months, right? We can have this conversation again in another few weeks, I guess, if things change, and that'd be maybe great depending on how they change. No matter what the cruise line says, you should get a COVID test in the 72-hour window before your embarkation, and you should take it with you. And here's why. One is, we don't know what other lines might change this policy. So for example, I'm scheduled in just about 2 weeks to go on MSC Meraviglia. Really excited about sailing MSC again. It'll only be my second time, and Meraviglia looks just spectacular. And looking forward to seeing Ocean Cay, their island. My shirt is very crooked. Should have done a wardrobe check before I went live. So I'm going to do that sailing on the 20th, right? And there's still some fantastic rates available. Check the deals page, by the way, on Meraviglia. I'm going to get a COVID test before that sailing. It's not required because I'm fully vaccinated. They're going to test everyone at the port of embarkation because that's MSC's policy. And I'll remind everyone that MSC has been cruising throughout, not throughout the pandemic, but since I think May of 2020 in Europe. They've carried maybe more passengers than anyone up to this point. The reason I'm going to get that test before is because what if that policy changes? K or Key, Thomas Fitzgerald, that is the question that nobody knows about any of these things. I say great day at Coco K for Royal because, I mean, it rhymes. Anything else, I really have no idea. Many lives lost over that one. The idea is, if MSC were to change their policy, though, ahead of my sailing, I don't want to find out. I don't want them to change that policy 24 hours before my sailing, and then I'm either scrambling to get another test or, worried about when it's going to get back. You don't know. You just don't know. So doing that kind of hedges that, makes it a non-issue. That's reason one. Kim, you sail on the edge this Saturday. Took your COVID test this morning. Was required by Celebrity. Yeah, so that was brand new from Celebrity. Kim, I'm sure you got emails from Celebrity and maybe from touring plans on that. Who knows where else you got those notifications? But yeah, Celebrity implemented that change just a week ago today or tomorrow, I think. And I get it. There's no downside other than the inconvenience, which I appreciate. But other than the inconvenience, there's no downside to that, right? So if MSC makes that same change, what if Kim? What if they made that change for you on Celebrity? Right before you're sailing. Same for my Mervillesian. So that's one of the reasons I'm going to be taking a COVID test for all upcoming sailings, even if it's not required. The second reason is honestly just kind of a courtesy. I'll say it's a courtesy for others, but it's also helpful for some people, not me in this case. Imagine you fly to your embarkation port, or you drive, take a bus, whatever. You make stops along the way. You get in that embarkation port. You've been in there, and that's where you find out if they are doing testing at the port that you come up positive. It's not likely, but it could happen, right? You don't want to find out that you just infected everyone along the way. And if you did have a long drive to the port, you don't want to find out that not only did you potentially infect people along the way, but that you just wasted all that time. It'd be disappointing, but I'd much rather find out back at home before I take a flight and an airport transfer and check in a hotel and then go to the port. So, that's it. It just seems that there are some really good reasons. And as a reminder, there are, if you have insurance, then in most cases, you shouldn't need to be paying for a COVID test. Your insurance will reimburse you fully. I've heard some people say, oh, well, not if it's for travel. I can only share my experience. I've had multiple COVID tests for travel, and each time they ask me if I was exposed or anything, I said, no, I'm going on a trip. It's required. And they say, okay. Now, if I have to pay for it, will I still do it? Absolutely. Absolutely. Brian, good point. Have seen too many folks scrambling, confused, and anxious because of protocol change. Yeah, and you know what? That's unfortunate because this was a little more difficult to predict. Even though we saw the rates climbing and stuff, this was a little more difficult to predict a week ago when Celebrity and Royal made those announcements. And I know it turned into a big mission that first weekend that there were sailings, and all of a sudden people didn't have time, or they scrambled, even though they maybe didn't really have time. They made it happen, only to find out that there were some testing available at the port, but that delays things. I don't want to see that happen to anyone else sailing on MSC, for example, if they were to change their policy, or even if these policies get backed out, maybe in a week, in a month, they back away. I will probably be doing this for a while just because I don't want to risk it. And again, even if it wasn't for those policies, I don't want to risk infecting people on the way, at the terminal, and I don't want to be disappointed when I get there. All unlikely. Statistically, it's unlikely, especially if you're vaccinated. But in general, you're likely not testing positive, right? But I know I don't want to go through, a flight or even just an Uber to the port and then find out. Annette, keep looking every day for Disney to come out with a policy change before their first sailing on August 9th. That's right. Annette, who is one, my friend, and two, my travel agent, is the head of everything over there at Touring Plans Travel. She's going to be on August 9th. I think that's the first revenue sailing for Disney Cruise Line on Disney Dream. And, travel agents, even people do this for a living, working hard, still mashing that refresh button all the time, looking for, emails or changes on the website about policies. Brian, big insurance coverage question. And the answer is it depends. You would know better than I. Brian is a very smart guy and a physician, not mutually exclusive things. Again, in my experience, it's been paid for every time. But even if it wasn't, I realize if you say, well, Billy, I got a family of 4, that's, that could be depending on which test, where you're getting the test, where you are, and how many options there are. That could be $400 or more. I get it. We're talking about for luxury travel here, for stuff that you don't need to do. seems like a reasonable investment. And if you're flying someplace, well, golly, I'd much rather have the airline credit me for because I say, sorry, I can't go now, I got a positive, than spend that money, get to the cruise terminal, and find out you can't go. So even with the it depends, you know, I just think it's not just the right thing to do, again, to make sure you don't potentially infect others. It's unlikely, but things happen. But just for your own sanity and convenience, I've got a number of sailings coming up, and I'll be honest, the last several days actually made it easier to keep track of some of these policy changes. You say, Billy, but with all the changes, how did it become easier? Well, because now almost everyone's the same. Right now, for sailings out of the U.S. other than Alaska, there's only one outlier for a line that's actually sailing, and that is MSC. But since they're doing testing at the port, I don't know if they're going to make that change. Oh man, look at this. Annette. Yes, Billy, she's still on hold for me right now. Annette has been on the phone on hold for me with different cruise lines for various things for a couple hours today. And that is why, one of the many reasons, but that's one of the chief reasons to use a good travel agent, because she's sorting through some future cruise credit confusion and other challenges. And you know what? I don't want to wait on hold with cruise lines. I'd much rather Annette do it. That sounds mean. I'm going to send Annette a gift certificate for a chocolate place. That's what I'm going to do. Kim, at least for your COVID test today, since you're vaccinated, celebrity required either a PCR or antigen test. You got an antigen test, much cheaper than PCR. Kim, very, very good point, actually. Yeah, in terms of those costs, the antigen tests are, generally speaking, less expensive. We could do a full 30 minutes. I could have Brian on as a guest talking about how it's not that one is more accurate than the other. One is more specific than the other, which isn't necessarily a good thing, but they're all right. But there are different requirements. But if you're doing it just because, if that's the cruise line policy, like in Kim's case with Celebrity, very, very jealous that you're going back on Edge, or if you're just doing it for peace of mind, to make sure that you don't waste your time, things like that, then yeah, go with what's the cheapest option. And that might even be one of the at home tests. I forgot who there was. Even, was it a cruise line, or maybe it was an airline?
Hi.
I don't know. I'm waving to you
I don't either.
that was even accepting those, but definitely don't take that as gospel. Emmy, as a Canadian, I just clicked wrong. As a Canadian, need COVID test for flight and ship. So you'll time the test so it's good for both the flight and the cruise. Emmy, that's a great point. And it depends if you're able to do that. If you can do that, absolutely fantastic option. So what Emmy is talking about, and I'll tell you how it might be applying to her and how it applies to how it applied to me on a recent sailing, is she's got to, in order to get her flight and to take the international flight from Canada, she's got to show that test, and then she has to show a test within 72 hours for the cruise. Well, ideally, if the flight is within 72 hours plus enough time on the front end to get a test taken and get the results back, then you can just get one test taken. When we sailed Millennium back on that very first Caribbean cruise back June 5th out of St. Martin, we needed a test for St. Martin. With the last minute, the cruise line said, actually, you're going to need one for us too. And that was because Barbados required it. Wasn't Celebrity's fault for the last minute change. We ended up having to do two. But some people where the timing was different, that weren't leaving to St. Martin as early as we were, they were able to just do one. So definitely do that math and see if you can get away with just doing one. Why not? Thomas Fitzgerald, really enjoyed your Millennium cruise in June with no mass passengers or crew. Guess that'll be the exception for a while. Yeah, and you know what? There are still a couple sailings operating that haven't changed mass policies. Celebrity, as of last time I hit refresh, but I'll be very honest with you, I'm fully prepared to pre-write an announcement that Celebrity's going to make a policy change, because I just find it likely, but maybe not. Maybe not. We'll see what their numbers look like on at disembarkation tomorrow, right? Maybe they'll say, you know what, we think we're good with the levels on our ships. Don't know. But yeah, it's
wasn't the crew wearing masks on Millennium?
Crew was wearing masks, and then they weren't wearing masks, and then on Edge they were wearing masks, and then they weren't, but now they are again. See, got hard to keep track of these things. So yeah, how long will it be before we go back to no masks and stuff like that? I don't know, but and I certainly understand. I completely understand anyone that looks the situation with testing and now with masks returning and says, you know what, I don't want to cruise like that. It's I understand, but I just want to relax, not have to think about those things. 100% understand, and that's why it's great that just about every cruise line has, and they all have different names for the policy, but they let you, in most cases, within 48 hours, cancel, get a future cruise credit, and say, I'm going to do this later. I 100% understand those that don't want to sail. As well as I left the light off over here, that don't want to sail under, with certain restrictions. I also get those that do. Personally, I'm perfectly pleased to be on a ship. If I have to wear a mask, it happens. It's okay. But I get both points. I'm also not taking like the trip of a lifetime or my one cruise every 2 years. If that were the case, maybe I'd wait. But I'll be happy to put on a mask, as I think I said on a podcast recently with Matt from Royal Caribbean blog, a diving bell, cowboy boots. Maybe Wilson can help me out with that. I don't know. Whatever. Flexibility is the name of the game. Absolutely, absolutely, 100%. And just like all those other things I talked about with masks and testing, and if you're not okay with those things, if you say I don't want to hassle with that on vacation, it's understandable. If you also don't want to be flexible with your vacation, that's understandable too. If you say I want a sure thing, as sure as anything can be, because things happen even outside of COVID, right? I get that. You got that 48 hours. You got up to the 48th hour before you're sailing to make that change. And I appreciate that cruise lines keep pushing back that window. I think that's beneficial to everyone. Jay, am I streaming with the glass for Lefroy? I'm not. Usually that would be completely accurate. Though actually last night I had some Talisker. I had a bottle of Talisker Thunder, and you know what that reminded me of? Reminded me of being on NCL, because NCL often has Talisker Thunder, which I'm a big fan of. But I do not. I just have water because I just got back from the gym. Haven't even had a snack or anything after, and I'm going to go to dinner in just a little bit. Brian White, great time to cruise with reduced capacity. Absolutely. And we see different lines have different levels of reduced capacity. We see Carnival actually took it to 70%, which a lot of people, including myself, frankly, were surprised about. Other sailings, depends on which sailing and which line, as low as 30%. I think 29% was one of the Alaska sailings, if I recall. But even at 70, that's a big, big difference. And a lot of folks, whether because of restrictions from the cruise line, they can't, or they just don't want to travel with kids, you're seeing fewer kids on cruises, which means certain areas might be a little more, we'll say, tame. So if you're looking at Carnival or Royal Caribbean, especially MSC, then those pool areas probably not going to be as overrun with kids. I have trouble not putting negative spin on that because I don't have kids. It's nothing personal. Thomas did all excursions with a mask, and it wasn't that big of a deal, but it was nice, nice to shed it once on board. Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you, here's the only gripe I have with excursions and masks is that in the Caribbean, it's warm. I live here in South Florida. It was over 90 degrees the other day. A bit uncomfortable when you're walking around and places you have to outside, but I get it. It's the rules, and it's not the end of the world. In Alaska, it'd probably not bother me at all. When it was in the cooler months here, there were one or two nights that Larissa and I were out for a walk, and we're like, you know what, I'm gonna keep on a mask to keep my face warm. But to me, wearing a mask, being on a cruise, being on an excursion, way better than not being on a cruise, not being on an excursion. But it's up to everyone to make that call. Let's see. Interesting. So in that 30% capacity on DCL and mainly adults, that's the weird part with DCL, mainly adults, right? And the adult areas on DCL are my favorite. I love Quiet Cove. My brain just went. Quiet Cove Cafe. Never mind the inside indoor adult areas. But yeah, right now it's going to be extra weird with such low capacity and almost no children. Really big kids. I guess I really wish I had a picture to bring up quickly of me. Let me see how quickly I can get to that. Like taking a picture with one of the characters on DCL. I don't know how quickly I'll be able to get to it. Would have been very appropriate otherwise. But anyway, so getting back to it, regardless of what the cruise line says, I would recommend get a COVID test before your cruise. You could save yourself some aggravation, if nothing else. Other great reasons to do it: potential policy changes, the possibility that, in the unlikely event you are positive, you could infect others. So go ahead and get that test. Oh, look what I found. Ta-da! See, big kids. And I'm referring to the guy with the beak. Brian, you've been in a mask most days for the past 15 months. Just a matter of picking a comfortable one. So 100% agree. Yes, I went through so many before I got some that I felt really comfortable wearing. I was a paramedic for many years. I will tell you that if you think it's hard wearing a mask for a while, try doing it. And in the heat, try doing it like in the back of an ambulance that's now 110 degrees. Oof, well, rushing around, it is no fun. And hardworking doctors, nurses, techs, all sorts of people. Yeah, frankly, while I miss working in that world, I'm glad that I have not been doing it in the last 16 months or so. The most comfortable mask that I have found so far, this is not a plug, really. The ones that Celebrity gives out to guests and crew, they have them in this color, and then if you're in a suite, you also get a gray one, which I have one of those somewhere. By far the most comfortable. And I heard, I've not validated this, I heard from somebody at Celebrity that they actually patented the design because they have certain things on the side to make it fit more comfortably, and the layers and the different materials they use. The only downside, better for Alaskan and Caribbean. They're a little bit warm, but I just wore one today and it's hot. So find a comfortable one. Larissa just stepped away, but Kim says, and I think she can hear me though. Hi, Larissa. Craig and I just signed up for the group cruise in January. Can't wait to talk ship in person. Woohoo! Awesome. Kim and Craig are going to be on the group cruise. Celebrity Apex, January 8, 2022. I got the year right this time. I screwed that up once or twice. Sorry, Nat. Make sure you check that out. ApexGroupCruise.com. I am so excited for that. One, because we love Edge, and I think Kim and Craig are going to like Apex, suspect as much as I'm going to like Apex. Apex is the second Edge class ship. She's got some nice enhancements over the first in the class, or the series that Celebrity says sometimes. For one, a lot more shade over at the Sunset Bar and the Rooftop Garden. Rooftop Garden is my favorite outdoor space on that ship, maybe my favorite outdoor space on any ship. It's just brutally hot. So they added a bunch of shade there on Apex. There's all sorts of other things. Different menu in Eden Restaurant, bigger kitchen, bigger galley. So they have a larger menu over in Raw on 8. All sorts of cool stuff. But check out apexgroupcruise.com. We've got some special rates, and I've been dragging my feet on sending out a big announcement email with events and stuff like that. But I promise I will get that done soon. In fact, Annette is here. Annette's going to keep me honest. Annette, let's make sure we get those announcements out, because there are some great exclusive rates. There'll be exclusive events, and we're going to be there, and you can come hang out and talk ship. Or if you're like, Billy, I like those rates, I really don't want to hang out with you. That's fine. I might not remember what you look like, so that's okay too.
I came in because I heard my name. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get on camera, but it's kind of awkward. Maybe you should like pivot it.
Here, I have a different camera. It doesn't have the logo. Can I do that?
Yeah.
One of these.
I'm like trying to sneak into the shot. Okay.
Studio cam view. Oh.
Okay. There you go. Right there. Good. No, I came because I heard my name, and I just read right here that Craig and Kim are going to be on the group cruise, which I'm really, really excited about.
Everyone in chat can too. ApexGroupCruise.com. But yeah, we're very happy that you guys are joining us. Thank you so much.
Said hi to me earlier, so hi, Brian. Sorry.
Brenda, have we run into other tubers like JJ Cruise? So yeah, there have been a couple other folks that I've run into that we've run into on various sailings, and it's always nice to catch up with some of them. I'll be honest, there are some people that I didn't have a chance to say hi to or meet that I went, hey, I recognize you, and even got some of this every once in a while. You get like you pass somebody and they like point like, hey, you, hey, me, yeah, I know, but that I don't really know. But we're like, we've seen each other on the internet. But there are a few people. I got to hang out with a bunch of media folks on Celebrity Edge on the June 26th sailing, and that was nice. Got to talk shop and talk ship with a bunch of them. Also saw Danny Haar on 3 ships on 4 sailings so far. He definitely thinks I'm following him. I can assure you of that. Do I know the capacity that Princess is sailing at? Karen, I don't, but I will make you a deal. I'm getting out a notepad. Let me reach out because I was actually curious about that and thought, and I'm actually going to be on. I'll be on a couple Princess sailings coming up. The next one I know of is not until November, but maybe on one before that, November 20th. I'm going to be on Sky Princess. So if anyone wants to join me there, please hang out. Princess capacity. Let me see if I can get an answer on that. No promises, Karen, but I'm going to see if I can get an answer. Oh, and let me leave a note to update you. Stefan. All right. Thomas, Tom Fitzgerald, you agree? Pretty good quality thought. I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm going to guess you're talking about the mask, maybe. I feel like I should talk up how comfortable these are and then eBay them because I have so many of these new in the box, like sealed packages. All right, guys. Any other questions I can answer? I need to get going, have some dinner here. I've got Larissa and my friend Cecilia over there talking quietly because they don't want to interrupt because they're more courteous than I am. And we're gonna head off and get some food soon. Cecilia, by the way, who was, I believe, standing near me, that picture I showed earlier, where I'm with Donald. I think Cecilia was standing there, rolling her eyes for that picture. Oh, will that show up on camera?
She heard her name and she was making all sorts of faces, but she walked over here and just climbed on the
And
back of the
doesn't show on the other camera.
No, you can't see her.
Just a disembodied voice. All right. Gallup, thanks for all the Edge info. Did 717 sailing, July 17 sailing. Love that ship. I am so glad you enjoyed. Hey, if anyone, whether you or anyone else wants to share their experiences, good, bad, or otherwise, on Edge or any other ship, you know where it'd be awesome to do that. Head over to the message board. So let me tell you guys a real quick story before I go. Right before the pandemic started, I set up message boards on cruisehabit.com. And I thought, God, it's going to be so awkward having message boards when there's no one talking on the message boards. It's like everyone assured me, they're like, Billy, people go to the site, they're going to want to talk ship. It'll be fine. It'll only have nothing on there for a little while. And they would have been right. They would have been right. Except, then there was a pandemic and no one went to the website any longer. So go over to cruisehabit.com/boards. You can click boards in the main navigation and you can put trip reports there. We can talk ship about anything you'd like. I'll answer questions there. In fact, Twangster is going to be putting updates. He's sailing, I think, tomorrow on Meravilia and going to be putting updates there over in that thread in the, which boards? I see. I don't even remember the way it works anymore. But in the MSC Meravilia August 6th thread. So check that out over in the, it's in the trip reports board. So check that out, cruisehabit.com boards. Would love to talk ship with all of you. If you go in there and we talk ship, it'll build and then we can all hang out together. And then we don't have to go to other sites where people aren't as nice to each other in the message boards. Karen, thank you so very much. I appreciate it a whole bunch. What I think is funny is I have to go now look at the little character that shows up because the software I'm using just describes it. Character holding their head in their hands saying, "You're my number one." I'm sure there's an image to go with that. And I'm sure it didn't show it to me. But thank you very much, Karen. I appreciate it. Thomas, the Mask from Millennium, have a bunch in the wrapper. Yeah, I changed cabins at one point on a ship, on a celebrity cruise, and then we reused some. So I think I literally have like 12. All right, guys. If there are any last questions, happy to knock those out. If not, I am going to dinner, and I can't wait to find out what Larissa and Cecilia have decided I'm going to eat. they've probably not decided. I'm going to turn this off. They're going to be like, so where are we going? What's going to happen? All right, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. I sincerely appreciate all of you. If you do have more cruise questions, I told you the place to ask them is over there at cruisehabit.com/boards. Of course, though, you can always reach out on social media. I'm happy to answer your questions wherever you can find me. There are the message boards. Well, there's a thread in the message boards. I love talking ship with all of you. I appreciate each and every one of you. If there's any content on the site that you really appreciate, then share it with someone else who does. Make sure you like us on Facebook. Click the little subscribe button down there on YouTube and the like button so that we can bring more content to you. I've just clicked a button in my software and I don't know what it is. Now I have something else popping up. Exciting. All right, guys. Have a magical evening and get your COVID test before your cruise, no matter whether the cruise line requires it or not. That's the takeaway from today's talk. Thanks so much. We'll talk ship with all of you again real soon.